call the council's meeting to order since it's 7:30. And so we have a roll call here of Councilmember Parizek, Mayor Pro Tem McFerren, and Councilmember Josh Shiltz. So we have a quorum. And so the first order of business is to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Councilmember Martinez has joined us as well. Next up is the approval of the consent agenda. And the only item there is the council minutes from October 15th, 2000. It says 23. I think it should say 24.
Yep.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. I don't think I said those that opposed say nay on the last vote, so if there's anyone that wasn't nay, we'll take care of that. So. Hi, Councilmember.
Sorry, I'm so
No,
sorry.
that's all right. We just got started. We approved the agenda and we approved the consent agenda.
Great.
So, okay, so now we have a city clerk who has been working very diligently on things in the city. And also has been working on certification. And so we are very proud to recognize City Clerk Shari Hoffert tonight, so. Thank you. Always. Stand. You coming over that way? Okay. All right. So, all the power.
Do you want
getting
like-
out, so we're gonna have all the council. members. This is so-
This is all of you, up here.
Oh, man.
Cara?
Cool, sure of all of us. Yes. So, okay, so this is presented by the Iowa Municipal Finance Officers Association has, I have to turn it around, has confirmed the designation of Iowa Certified Municipal Clerk upon Shari Hoffert, who has completed the requirements of education and experience prescribed by the Iowa Municipal Finance Officers Association. Issued February 12th is the certification date, and it expires in 2028. So we're very proud of you for accomplishing this.
Yeah, Shari.
Our work pays off, Shari.
And twice over too, yes, literally.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is a public hearing. So we need to, I request that someone make a motion that we have a public hearing on budget amendment number 1 for FY 24-25. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to open the public hearing?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk, the certified clerk will call the roll.
Martinez,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes.
Dominguez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, so now that we are in the public hearing, it's time for public comments and or correspondence. It is time for public comments and or correspondence. It is time for public comments or correspondence? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Excuse me, council members who would like to discuss this.
I just had a resident inquire as to the explanation of changes and I referred them to the sheet that explains it on the very bottom, which is the various expenses. So I did have an inquiry.
Okay. All right. Are there other comments from members of the council? Then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on budget amendment number 1 for FY 24-25.
Motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there further discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Dominguez,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yeah.
motion passes 5-0.
Next up is item number 6, beer and liquor licenses.
You have the resolution portion of it.
Oh, sorry, yes, okay, excuse me. Resolution, so first we have resolution 2024-1105-189, City of West Liberty Budget Amendment number 1 and certification resolution for FY 2024-2025. It is a roll call vote. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Parizek,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yeah.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Now we will move to item number 6, beer and liquor licenses. A is a 12-month Class C retail alcohol license for La Chiva Loca, expiring October 15th, 2025. Is there a motion? We can have discussion. Oh, no, motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the license.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will move to item 6B, a 12-month Class C retail alcohol license for DHM2 DBA Winks Bark and Grill, expiring October 21st, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Without the kid.
Second. Thank you. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will move on to reports. Employee, city manager, city attorney, city boards, commissions. So first up is city engineer Leo Foley.
Okay, so the key things we're doing right now is we have got the 5-year CIP, construction in progress type plan. We've met with city manager and staff, we've got input, put it together. The manager was gone for a week on training, I was gone for a week on vacation, so hopefully next week we can get together and make sure we got everything jived the way they wanted it. I think we're pretty close on that. So then the next step after that is to come up with the final rates and present those to you guys. But we're pretty close on all of that right now. Next big thing, tied into that is wastewater treatment plant and the cost for the wastewater treatment plant and how we do that. So that's kind of tied into all of that 5-year plan. Well, number 2 is still the integration part. We had an issue that we're waiting for Harn. Harn is the ones that manufactured the reverse osmosis skids. They will be here, I think it's mid-October or mid-November, a couple of weeks, and we have some things we want them to try to do some reprogramming on their system. but we didn't want to do it without them here.
And that's because the flow from that isn't what we
The
hoped for.
flow wasn't as high, and we believe there's pressure sensors in there that are maybe a little set, and maybe we could try to set them, or try to make the flow only go one direction versus two directions. So those are the two big things that we're looking at trying to change. But again, I kind of want them to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Before we do it. Based on what I've read, and I will have it with me on their equipment. The flow rate isn't down below where they said it should work. So there's some questions and how do we get it to work? Right, so that's that one. The next one is on Rainbow and Columbus Street. We have two change orders. I'd just wait for those change orders and give you a review, report at that time.
Yeah, those were in the packet that
Yes,
council members received.
and that's all I have tonight.
Okay. All right, any questions for city engineer Foley? Okay, city staff reports, city manager.
I'm gonna go through a verbal report with you here. Just over the past month, we been working, as you see before you tonight, the budget amendment work and going through those numbers. I've continued to work with the ELC transfer of property, working with the Muscatine County abstract. The issue being that there were some pieces missing from what was provided with the abstract, and it could not be located, so we requested for them to create a new abstract. And the correspondence I had today, they should have that to us by the end of the week. And then we can get that to the attorneys to finish the closing of the transaction. Iowa Grants Administration, as mayor is my witness and Ken is my witness, that has been requiring a lot of my time to go through that process. I made some good headway on it today, and so hopefully we can keep getting that progress going so we can close that out here soon. And then we have, in addition to that, we have the Catalyst grant, and Ken with WeLead has been assisting with that and collecting that documentation. We did get an extension on that, but we're in hopes that we can get that closed out as soon, and then that'll finalize that grant process. FEMA will be here on Thursday. We have follow-up with them with documentation to get to them on our first reimbursement request, and then we'll discuss the other two projects that we're working on with them, one being mitigation. So we've had staff going through pieces that they've identified that we could request for funding to mitigate future issues, such as with our infrastructure and electric, trees that were weakened from the storms, that will allow us to get more than a matching cost to take care of those items. We did talk a little bit about the pool as far as a shelter, and they were going to check in to see if there was some options still available to us for that. The employee handbook, I've met with our city supervisors, and I met with Shari and Adam. We went through, with Shari and Adam, I went through, updated, and that is with the attorney for their review. And then we'll come back to our supervisors. We had many discussions about updating benefit time, flex scheduling, possibly changing some hours for different departments for 10-hour shifts for 4 days a week. And again, we'll bring that to you in a work session so we can have more detailed discussion on it. But everybody has been very, I would like to say we've been involved. We've had multiple discussions, and we're also trying to look at, just not as a municipality debate, to also be competitive with the other job markets out there for sustainability and recruitment pieces for that. November is a very busy month for reports that are due to the state from the clerk and myself. The city clerk is just finishing up the street finance report. Our next is the annual financial report she'll be working with. And then on my side of it, I'll be working through the urban renewal and the tax certification report that goes to the county. HR items, we've continued to have a few of those that we're working through. As I stated, we've held a supervisor meeting and went over, we talked about during the supervisor meeting about participating in the holiday open house. And I have communicated to the chamber that the city will be participating in the holiday open house, and our staff is coming up with some creative ideas that we can do through the city to be open to the public that day. Upwards, so we have our representatives traveling out November 13th for a ceremony with the Army. So representing will be Brittany Woodson for Public Relations, Mayor Smith, Ken Geertz with We Lead, and Dana Dominguez, our council member. And I think they've got your itineraries and they've got all your information over to you.
Yeah.
The other priority I'm working through is the MOU with We Lead. There had been some discussion earlier this year. Where I'm at now is reviewing the MOU with our city attorney to see if we can make some updates, look at a 2-year agreement, and then we'll continue to work through the information that we have been talking about as far as staffing planning with the community director for economic development. I attended Drake on 10/15 through 10/16, had the opportunity to go out to the Iowa Municipal Finance Officers Association, was honored to be able to see Clerk Hoffert receive her certificate, was able to network with clerks that I came through the ranks with, and also had an opportunity to see a few city managers that are now taking their clerk certifications that I was familiar with. I completed the evaluation for the city clerk, and I've handed that off to the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem for them to review in their steps. And the last thing is animal control. We've got dogs gone wild here lately, and so Eddie Ortiz has been very busy along with our police department. So again, as a reminder, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are managing your pets, keeping them from running at large, and if we do catch them, there is a fine and potential of removing the animal if you're not responsible for making sure that they're registered and vaccinated and managed from running at large. So with that said, just a couple of things. November 11th will be closed in honor of Veterans Day, and our public relations has been working with our departments to pay recognition to all of our veterans that were employed with the city. And then on November 15th, the departments will have their meeting with Wessery Foods. And I will reach out to Leo and see if we can schedule our meeting in the afternoon on that date. So that is all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the city
I have a
manager?
question.
Yes.
You said you completed the review of the performance review for city clerk? I thought the council did that.
I just provided my input for.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Other questions for the city manager? Okay, Adam has a report in the packet for streets, and I wondered where Preston, Iowa was, if it's where I think it is. Some people went for some free training.
Yeah, it's the same place we take our automated to get repaired. They put on a free mechanic training, give them breakfast and steak lunch, so they enjoy that at least.
Yeah, good. And CEU's taken care of for the year for you.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
good.
for all the departments.
Yeah. Okay, were there other questions or comments about Adam's report?
I had a question, Adam. It said that you replaced some streets that had voids under you, is that what it sounds like?
Sections of roads that were essentially hollow and room.
Oh,
That happens more often than it really should.
oh my gosh, that just gives me the chills.
Yeah, many years ago, there was one right smack in the middle of Spencer and Third Street. Just after they put the brick, I think, down, and it was a ginormous cavern underneath the roadway.
Thank you very much.
Probably still there.
Yeah, I had Collins Concrete do one and went up into a driveway, into a storm intake. I didn't want to mess with it. And then we did one further down the road ourselves, much smaller and easier. So it
Is
was on
that,
16th Street. That's the fourth one on 16th Street.
is it normal for like cities to deal with these voids and stuff like that? It's like a, or do we need to like get some high tech thing?
Well, you don't know until the road starts cracking and breaking, or
Yeah.
you see around the intakes, all the sealant stuff is gone, you can just stick a tape measure down there.
Oh, okay.
There's ways to get around it without actually tearing it out and replacing.
Leo has a comment.
It is more normal for older communities that have especially hilly terrain. You don't have a lot of hilly terrain, because it's normally some kind of groundwater or some kind of water moving, and it makes that void. Usually because, like you said, around intakes, they excavate, and in the older days, they weren't compacting very well. So nowadays, you'll see a lot of rock in these projects and compacting of rock to stop that. So,
Has to
you
do.
know, I don't think, I think I'm with Adam. I don't think it's worth trying to, it's really hard to figure out where they are, and you're gonna spend a lot of money. You're better off fixing them when they come.
Okay.
We have our soil, here is a mixture of clay and, so again, because of our soil composition, it always has an impact on your street surfaces and how it gives underneath them. So that's something that they take in when we're looking at our, when we're doing our contracts and you're looking at the layers that they're placing down, is that they're taking into consideration when they do our soil sampling to understand our soil level and how much it needs to be compacted. And as Leo had said, you know, back in the day, I mean, you just put a surface over the top of it.
You also have extremely high water table.
Yes, we do.
So you can dig a hole 2 feet down and find water.
Yeah.
So that, when that water comes up, goes down, comes up, comes down, it causes problems.
Other questions for Adam? He expressed his enthusiasm in his report for this lead. Yeah, I did note that. Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the police department, and I did note that either the highest or one of the highest areas of contact was over animal control.
Yeah.
So any other questions for the chief's report in the?
Are you coming along with the seventh officer?
We're gonna get that posted soon eventually, so we're just trying to clear some HR stuff with our current policy, so maybe that was done with before we move forward.
Okay. Other questions for the chief?
Under the, if we in fact do go with the SRO officer, then will the council be involved in working with all the necessary parties and drafting the agreement, or
Yeah, we haven't had any involvement with the school at this point, but that's the next part is to
Okay.
have the school boards, the school work with the council of the city to get a, you know, agreement drafted up. We just haven't scheduled any time at this time, and
Okay.
it'd be everybody's busy time of the year, unfortunately.
Other questions for the chief? Okay, Brittany has a good report in about that covers things like the number of people who've been looking at our sites and that sort of thing. So any questions for Brittany? Okay, then I have to apologize if I'm missing it. I didn't see the Parks and Rec report. Is it in
I
the
have
packet?
it.
You have, it.
Yeah.
Okay,
When it got sent out on Friday, it wasn't in there.
okay.
I can pass it around if you guys would like to look at it, or I can send it to you electronically.
Lots of trees and concrete.
Lots of trees and lots of concrete is,
Why don't you send it electronically then?
okay.
So,
Just quickly, they've really planted, almost all the trees. We did have applications for, less than a dozen, private property, applications for trees. Unless you know of a different number, that's the last I looked at it, Adam.
No, I go, yeah, it's 12 or 13.
And then from, the continued work on the trail systems, if you've caught that, they've continued to extend the trail, trying to make the best they can of weather to get more concrete down for that trail piece of it.
Yeah, I think they've done
Very
20 or
nice.
30 yards at Wapsie, and
Yeah.
then all American did the big portion out of Dunn.
Yeah,
And
it says that they have continued pouring the trail at Wapsie, completing another 300 feet. And then it says they have put 30 trees at city properties so far and 23 getting ready to go in the city right away.
And so within those right of ways, we identified to make sure that the placement of those trees will not impact utility.
Yeah.
So just to clarify for anyone that had applied and we stated that we wouldn't allow it to be planted in the right of way, these specific areas were identified so they would not impede on our utilities.
All right. Committee reports, task force, I don't think that there is anything there, so. We will move on to item 8A, vendor voucher claim list number 1. Regular prepaid in the amount of $458,215.81. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll move to 8B, library prepaid claims in the amount of $6,833.55. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will move to item number 9, which is public comments and or correspondence. This is the time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. And no action can be taken. So we ask that folks state their name and address for the record and keep comments to no more than 2 minutes. So I will open it up. Are there any public comments? The chair, or we recognize we lead director Ken Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ken Brooks, we lead 119 East 3rd Street. Just want to remind those of you who already know and extend an invitation to those of you that don't. This Friday, November the 8th, from noon to 2 o'clock at the West Liberty Community Center, we lead and West Liberty Foods are happy to present this quarter's West Liberty Business Association meeting. Everybody is welcome and encouraged to attend that. 2 really interesting guest speakers will be joining us and speaking from a county perspective this time. One from Align Impact Muscatine, where we'll be talking a lot about early childhood education. And then Dr. Brad Bark, who happens to be the mayor of Muscatine, but will be speaking in his capacity as president and CEO of the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, talking about some cooperative projects that West Liberty is working on in the region and his vision for the future of Muscatine County, kind of incorporating it into a region and establishing an identity separate from the corridor and separate from the Quad Cities. So we invite you to attend.
All right. Are there any other public comments? Are there any other public comments? Are there any other public comments? We'll move on to city council public comments and or correspondence. So we'll start with council member Martinez. I almost said representative. Okay. All right. Council member Shiltz.
I received some questions about some work being done just on your property, so kind of worked with Eddie on, I guess we kind of need a permit for quite a lot of things, so.
Yeah.
He helped me with that. I did receive some correspondence from Mr. Ken Brooks over there. Kind of concerning the recent changes with the garbage ordinance and with kind of landlords and tenants, and he's received some conversations from concerned landlords and whatnot, so kind of working on that still, just caught that today, so just move on. That's it.
All right, thanks. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I received a few inquiries. One was from a resident in town who was questioning or concerned about that green lot on the corner of 3rd and Columbus.
He's a lot.
Yes, Casey's a lot. and that there's a vehicle parked there. It doesn't have identifiable license plates, but it has maybe a dealer promotional nameplate in lieu of the license plate. And so they were concerned if that was going to turn into a parking lot or a something, because it's grass, it's not, that's all it is a lot.
Did they say when it appeared there?
It's been, yeah, since last week, I think.
Like a red.
Yeah,
truck, right?
yeah, it's a red,
Well, there's no parking signs posted there, so.
All the way
it's
up
not
against
gonna
the
be-
fence too, I think of the
yeah,
house.
it's against the,
Well, I see
Where is
just-
this again?
that green lot that's on the corner of Third and Calhoun. At the four-way stop.
Okay.
My
Um,
recommendation is when council gets any of those type of things is to have them reach out to the police department.
Okay,
And contact them and, so because there's no parking signs there, and so. You can reach out to them and have them look into that.
okay. I do that. Or I can. get
But I
them-
see Chief over there is making notes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Miles.
Oh, okay, okay,
I
and
know
then,
sometimes like the residents that they've parked there before and it's just, we
well-
haven't had any complaints about it, so it's kind of just one of those things that,
yeah, and we've
we'll-
seen that happen.
We'll look, yeah. We'll look into it.
Cut cars kind of come and go, but this is sort of, once it arrived, it hasn't moved.
Okay.
It's just been stationary. Yeah. And then I had, received an email from a resident here in town, Mr. Anderson, regarding he wants to reclaim his original full parcel on 715 North Calhoun. So, I think maybe he sent it to everybody, but
Yeah, I received it.
Okay. And then I had, also another, inquiry about somebody outside the community, but within the school district, who sent me, a bunch of information in regards to the SRO officer. So they were in opposition to it. They sent me a bunch of, data about it. And I think that's all I have.
Was that one of the Dominguez?
Specific to what Cara just said, I did see, some folks talking about the SRO. And I think it's important to recognize when you're looking at the data and stuff like that, our population and our community. We're a very small, tight-knit community, whereas a lot of other SRO programs are for big, major cities. I don't think there is a similar way to compare that data unless you are looking at other small communities that have these kind of community policing programs as well. Because there are SROs that are literally there to, treat children like adult criminals or whatever. And then there are SRO programs that are there to provide a level of safety and protection for students and to build that relationship between law enforcement and youth. And I think the SRO program that we've seen is very much driven by community policing, and it's very much driven by filling that gap with our police department and the youth in the town. And we're just a different community, so I guess that's what I would have said if I had the opportunity to say that to the person that was saying something online, but otherwise, that's about it.
I guess my opinion on that too is like, unfortunately, in today's day and age, that the size of the community, I don't think really matters as much as the element that we have in, today's society of things that can go on anywhere. We've seen it around the country and everything, so I'm hoping this program is to instill the faith in the protection of the children, and that's the main goal.
Yep.
And it's not there to police things.
Mhm.
As far as the students, that's up to the school district and with the teachers and the principals and stuff like that. It's mainly, it's there to protect our kids and to make sure they feel safe.
Absolutely.
We've always worked in conjunction with the school admin, and things like that, any disciplinary or any like separate, the police has to get involved, we take the school's opinion and stuff like that to work how to best suit that student and solve the situation. And we just wanted, it's just a continuation of that relationship with the school.
And there's an opportunity for that officer to learn every single kid's name in that school and have a relationship with every single kid. Whereas in a bigger school, there's no way that they could know all of the kids there. So I think it's just a missed opportunity if we have that opportunity to kind of build that relationship.
Councilmember Parizek, you added that to Councilmember Dominguez comments. Any other correspondence or?
I have not received any comments or correspondence at this time. So.
Okay. Okay, so then we'll turn to the city manager for the same.
Yeah, so for what I received for correspondence is, the clerk and I both received a certified letter from Mr. Paul Reed. And that has been passed on to the city attorneys. I've also received, this time of the year, it's kind of a popular thing, people come in and talk about the open burning. The recommendation or the request is that possibly we move our burning to the last week of October and then 2 weeks in November, do an additional week because the weather patterns have changed significantly to where the leaves were barely off the trees during when the open burning season started. And so I stated to them that I would present that and get some, maybe some guidance, consensus from councils to how they would like to proceed about that. So again, now it's raining, so, and that's part of that. And, it's even difficult for now that we have a really nice vacuum, it's like, but when it gets rain and they get heavy. So, so again, that was that. And then I've also received a couple inquiries regarding the garbage rates. So again, the garbage rates, these did not impact a fee change. What it was is correcting the ordinance or bringing the ordinance in line with what it was originally intended and how the billing was to be set. There has been a significant, if you remember, a significant deficit in the garbage utility, and due to the clerk Hoffert and Public Works Director Adam Hoffert, they dug into, they looked at what we had done prior for the study, for the facility pieces, the operation pieces, and the weight of the solid waste that are being taken to the landfill. And doing the additional work and taking time to look through it, it appeared that there had been changes to the billing that didn't align with the ordinance and has left continually is leaving a large deficit in our billing piece of it. So in order to correct that, we needed to make sure that our ordinance aligned with how the billing is supposed to work. So for two of the individuals that have contacted us, we've pulled all the information and we will be setting a meeting to go over that with those multi-residential owners, which are landlords, to have that conversation with them and to show them where they were at with the billing, where it's at now, and make sure that we can identify the calculations are correct.
I'd like to know in those meetings.
Yes, Mayor.
Did your first line item you had spoke of, did you want any input or did you want us to wait and input later?
About the open burning.
Open burning.
But the-
I mean, that would be up to the mayor. If you want to have them give an open input on it, or you can wait and we can put it on our next agenda to have a discussion, so.
I think it would be good because I know sometimes the county will put it, like the last burn ban, they put a burn ban, but you can still do like fire pits. So do we follow the counties, or do we follow our procedures, or do we follow theirs? I guess it would be something that.
Yeah, so you're suggesting it would be good to have a meeting to discuss that. Since it's not on the agenda, I'm a little uncomfortable with open meetings, if we did it tonight. And so I think, my recommendation would be that we put it on the agenda for our next meeting.
I think it warrants a better discussion than just a fleeting thing tonight. So-
Right.
I think that's what I was looking for, is just the direction that we wanna have it to.
And I think if council members need or want any information to prepare for that meeting, then please reach out to the city manager for that.
And likewise with the public, if the public would want to provide some additional input to assist with your action, then I would welcome them to, they can send their correspondence to the city clerk or myself.
All right, anything else from the city manager? City clerk, public comments or correspondence?
Other than what city manager Geertz discussed, I don't have any others.
All right, good. All right, we are now to item number 10, new business, and A is resolution 2024-1105-190, a resolution accepting recommendation for Heather Woody, excuse me, to do a strategic planning session with city employees. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Is there discussion?
So, Mr. Mayor, if you remember, I had this in our report, Library Director, Har Smith and myself. That the director had brought back from her training, and, our discussion was diving into, the one thing that we've continued to talk about is, we do a strategic planning for the overall city. However, we haven't done any strategic planning for our staffing. And as we all know, over the last year, we've been trying to restructure and reorganize to run things more efficiently. And so with our conversation, this is what came out of it. And it would be my recommendation that we could proceed in establishing a strategic planning that involves our staff. And having their input so we can set a plan for the direction of with everything as far as staffing levels, with job descriptions, with what goals that they're looking at, what do they want to see in policy and procedures and things that she's identified here in her outline for you.
There other discussion?
And I didn't know if the director had any. I know we did discuss it during our city supervisor meeting and it seemed to be very receptive and, if any of you have anything to add from that meeting.
I do see there's like a time frame of how many hours and anything like that. Is there a cutoff where you would just say, this is, or she would say, this is what we could do for today, and then we'd have to schedule something else? And that would be brought before us too.
Yeah, this is just trying to get us going towards the direction so I can have a conversation with Ms. Whitty, so we can identify specifics as to what, what we're looking at as far as a plan, identifying a timeline, and definitely an overall budget not to exceed. I think the bigger thing is going back to our superintendents and having more conversation with them to identify what goals they're looking at so we can get that over to her and continue to work through this. But I need to have, your permission to proceed.
And there would be like a review afterwards. also.
Yep, then she would have a report and.
And I think that's the value that this would offer us. I think we have as department heads and things, we have a good idea of the goals that we need to accomplish. I think it's just a matter of order of operations, and figuring out what needs to happen first and kind of given some more direction to make it more efficient.
For what it's worth, I like this approach. I can't remember if you attended the strategic planning meeting that I attended,
Yes.
when
It was
there
his
was a
first
question.
time.
Oh, yeah.
whether we were
Yeah.
council or not.
Yeah, I do remember that well.
We all-
Yeah.
Tim was silent the whole time, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I walked away with feeling like we knew less as council than the people that we employ to do these types of things, and that we should have a better mechanism to gather the information for the decisions we make. So I like this approach.
So this, you would just have timeframe 2025. Is it just basically going to be the year, or do you anticipate this only in the first quarter?
So what we've discussed is we would do a kickoff in, we're looking at January of 2025.
Okay,
But prior to getting there, there's some, again, that's the conversation that I need to continue to work through with Heather, so we can have, what the plan looks like, what's the timeline look like? Because when, my vision was engaging and involving all of our staff in this. But to do so, that means that we have to, close city services and operations for those times to get that input. So that's more conversations as well with our department heads and, and making sure that we can align that time with them and with their services and operations they're providing, because we have a lot of, we've added a lot of new staff, and we've got some existing staff, and we would want the opportunity to hear from everyone. And that's what we're identifying, not just our supervisors, from the entire staff itself, to get them engaged.
so it's undetermined right now, how long it would,
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I think what we talked about is, that we wouldn't take it more than 3 months, but we don't know what we don't know until we start getting into the conversations.
Is there further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Right, McFerren,
yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We're to 10B, and this is one that city engineer Foley mentioned that he would have more comments at this point on. So resolution 2024-1105-191, a resolution to accept change order number 5 from All American Concrete for Rainbow Maxim Street improvement project in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now open up for discussion. Any objections to starting with the city engineer Foley?
Ready?
Yep, we're ready.
So let me just give you a quick outline of the project. So the Rainbow and Maxim project is essentially complete, except for there's a drainage issue on the end that's down beyond the project, where the water can drain, and All American has that in their contract for excavation. We told them to go ahead and do that work, so they have to do that work yet. Not sure why they haven't done it. For about 2 or 3 weeks, they keep saying they're gonna do it. I don't know whether it's weather or what, but that's it on that part of the project. The Columbus Street sidewalk project, as you can see, was going fairly well. I negotiated the easement with Mr. Marshall. Mr. Marshall did not want the project, as well as one of the other owners up there. When I met with him, we talked about lots of alternatives on what we could do other than do the sidewalk, as well as he was looking maybe to just somebody to buy the thing. So when I got done, I wrote notes, sent them to city manager Geertz about all of our discussions and what it was gonna, what we had to do. And I never put anything in there about, heated concrete. He said he had told me at that meeting that he had heated up concrete on that one bay, but I somehow it got past me, not sure why. But, later when we were doing that, we said, okay, now we need to figure out if you have heated concrete, what's it gonna take to put heated concrete back? Cause if you had it the first time, you almost have to put it back. So almost had to excavate it. There were no plans for what it was. He had only bought it 2 or 3 years ago. He didn't know what was underneath that concrete or anything like that. We excavated, figured out it was pretty traditional Glycol heated concrete. I had just done some in Burlington. I knew exactly what it was once we saw it. And we came up with a price. That stuff is usually it's labor intensive, but it's not very high tech. It's basically rock with PVC piping. They put Glycol through it, insulation on top, and then concrete. But it's more work than just normal concrete. So we asked All American to come up with a cost. They're gonna use Lynch Plumbing to do that part of it. The cost was about $14,800, but you can subtract off the numbers we had in the project to do excavation and concrete anyway. So I subtract that off, it comes down to about $10,000 or $10,797 to do the heated part of the concrete. So everything's done except that. They had to excavate to figure out what exactly to do. I think this is, I just did some of this, I said in Burlington, the price they gave us seems very fair to us. We thought it was a very good price and we recommended that the city go forward.
And I'd just like to add with Leo, I mean, I agree with the costs that have come in. I was, honestly, when we first talked about it, I was kind of cringing a little bit when we said heated. But I also think about, we take something out, we put it back the way we found it, for the property owner. And most importantly, I think about public safety because it's unfortunate that is such a, there's such a steepness to that anyway. Even though we're kind of working on it, but public safety, if people are coming out of there and it's not heated, then we have the potential of cars sliding down and then right into the highway area there. So again, from the cost perspective and the public safety perspective, I support the recommendation.
A lot of my talks with Mr. Marshall were,
Yeah.
what do we do? Because it's very steep. And how do we make it so it's not as steep? So we were talking, because you have to put an ADA relatively flat sidewalk into a steep embankment without making, so we already knew we had to excavate all the way up to his door, almost all the way down to the highway to make it as best we could, worrying about safety from day one. Once I figured out that there was heated concrete in there, it almost, other than the cost, just what the city manager said, in a way, it made us a little bit happier because we were very nervous about, there was no place good to put that sidewalk. And we tried 10 different locations, but it's on a curve on a highway and was very steep, so.
I don't know who would be using it in winter,
What's that?
using a car wash in winter.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You get the salt.
Oh.
They oversalt the streets.
Yeah.
So was Mr. Marshall able to like provide proof that he had heated concrete, or were you able to look at it? and know
Yeah,
that-
we actually had to excavate it.
Okay.
Once we figured it out, we'd go inside, we realized he has pumps. And that there was there was Glycol. So now, how does that Glycol? And we wanted to be able to cut it off. There was some thought of maybe we could cut it here, extend it, cut it here. But we ended up saying it's just not worth it. There's too much risk of then leaks and all this other stuff, so. So we excavated it. We had the plumber come over and look at it. My guy from Burlington came up to look at it, so I think we've got a pretty good plan going
Good.
forward.
The last page of this, it's a change order log.
Right.
Is that just there?
I've just started doing that to all my change
Okay.
orders, just so you know everything that happened with the
Okay.
project.
Okay, I was just curious because that's new.
It's somewhat new to you, yes, but I
Yeah.
started doing it on every project.
Okay.
That way everybody can see every single change order.
Okay, thanks.
Clinton, I got 150 of them, so it's not a good thing.
Uh,
Sometimes, I mean, 150 on a $100 million project, but there's 6 change orders, 5 change orders, I wanted you to see what they were.
Okay,
You did list that in one of your things I saw, which was helpful.
What?
You did state that in one of your letters here. When I was looking through it, I noticed the added sheet too, and I was like, well, that's what it is, so I appreciate you just putting that in.
Yeah, and so the next, that way you can kind of see, really the biggest change order was adding this sidewalk, which was just a complete add. The rest of the change orders for this project have gone very, very well, you know, but this is a problem and we had to address it.
Are there any other comments?
My thoughts exactly on the safety of, I don't know, I mean, this application, I don't see any other way to do it.
I actually think it was once I got over being mad at myself for either not hearing it or if he said, you gotta remember, the first couple conversations we had, he's a very professional and a good guy to deal with. But he was not happy. He was not happy at all at first, so. You know, and he had a lot of ideas that were not to do this sidewalk, so that's what I was kind of dealing with, but. Once I got over not realizing I somehow didn't get that, it's funny, as I wrote notes the next day on it. So I do think you're gonna get a better product, a better, safer situation for the city.
And it's been tradition that if we have to excavate something to replace or
Yeah.
refurbish, we return it back to the condition. It was.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Shiltz,
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
So now we are, I think, to item 10C. I got a little confused there. Sorry. Resolution 2024-1105-192, a resolution to accept change order number 6 from All American Concrete for the Rainbow Maxon Street project for placement of a new fire hydrant in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Okay, so this one, again, we thought we probably had to move that hydrant. We weren't positive whether we did because of how it was located pretty close to where it might be okay. So what we decided is, let's see when they excavate, let's put in move the hydrant as a item. So there is an item to move the hydrant. Once we got there, they were having trouble, the city was having trouble shutting valves off, so they couldn't really shut that down properly. And at the same time, they said, hey, that hydrant's pretty old. We didn't realize how old it was. And this was a sidewalk project. A lot of times with sidewalk projects, you're not wanting to add cost of moving hydrants or adding new hydrants. So, but it became a smart thing to try to add a hydrant. And because of the ADA, we needed to move it to a location that was on the other side of the existing valve. There's very little room. It's kind of a really tight little corner there. So the water director, Austin, said he thought we should put a new hydrant in. So we priced out what a new hydrant would be versus moving. And that's where this $8,800 comes up. Also, we found out, we knew where the water main kind of was, you got to remember, these are old water mains. And they're drawn on a map kind of as a schematic. So you kind of know approximately where the water mains are, not exact, till you dig them up, and you don't know how deep. So we were hoping this was like 6 feet deep, because it was the roads here, hillsides here, we were hoping it was down near the road level and 6 feet deep, 5 feet deep below the road. It was not. So once we excavated it, we figured out once we do our sidewalk, we'll only be 4 feet above the 4 feet above the water main. 4 feet's not enough. In this type of climate, we want 4.5 to 5 at least. So again, we asked them to put insulation on top of the water main where we're excavating for the hydrant. And that's what this is for. So he's got new hydrant with a valve and pipe insulation. Again, we subtracted off from the 15,000, we had subtracted off to move the hydrant. And that's how you come up with the $8,800, what the cost to you is. You get a new hydrant, you get a new hydrant valve, and you get a insulation that I think you have to have. The insulation you have to have. We could have, still can, just move the hydrant, but we don't think it's a good, after we're looking at the hydrant and. You can paint them and they look good, but it's not the same. City probably has a future project to, and Austin knows it, to work on valves throughout the town, because that's a problem if you can't shut these valves down. That's one of the reasons this is so high. He looked at it, meaning now we're not talking about Lynch plumbing, we're talking about Lynch excavating. And we sent him pictures, Austin had pictures of how much he could shut it down. But there's still a pretty good flow, so he has to change that with water coming at him to get that hydrant to work right.
Is there further discussion?
What's that?
Is there further discussion?
No, sir.
A hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Parizek,
Yeah.
Shiltz,
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes,
Martinez,
Yes.
Dominguez,
Yeah.
motion passes 5-0.
Resolution 10D 2024-1105-193, a resolution to approve estimate number 14 for All American Concrete for the Rainbow Maxon Street project in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve?
motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Really, the only things really left, a little bit more excavation, seeding, and then those two change orders, they have not been done, so if you looked on the last page of this where we have the change orders, you'll see the numbers are up there, but there's nothing in there, so. I got a call from their project manager today, asking me to call him tomorrow morning, because he wanted to, in his mind, get right on this, which means ordering the parts, so.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Shiltz,
Yes.
Parizek.
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes,
Martinez,
Yes.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
10E, set the date for a public hearing of November 19, 2024 at 7:30 PM. For update to the code of ordinance by adding a new section, dumping in private dumpsters. I think this is a consensus item. Any objections to that being added? Hearing none, we will move to item F. Set the date for a public hearing on November 19, 2024 at 7:30 PM for the update of the code of ordinance by adding a new section, amending provisions pertaining to council meetings. Any objections to that being added?
is that just updating?
That is for you guys to be able to change the ordinance, to be able to set your meetings for the new time frame. So we have to have that before we can do it. And then what will happen is you would set that by resolution from there forward.
That's for 6:30s instead, right?
Yeah.
Item 10G, set the date for council work session on November 19, 2024 at 6 PM for an hour of, for a tour of the powerhouse. I've been talking about concerns with the facility, and so we wanted to set up and do a tour of it. Any objections to us doing a tour of the powerhouse? Hearing none, item 11 is to enter into a closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5(1)(I) to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual request a closed session. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
All right, Parizek,
Yes.
Dominguez,
Yes.
McFerren,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we will go into closed session.